Auzubillahi Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My respected brothers and wider audience that may be listening to this seminar, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you so much for your time. ये जो presentation है दिखाना चाहता हूँ आपको वक्फ-ए-जदीद की तरफ से, लेकिन तहरीक-ए-जदीद भी मैं कवर करूँगा इसमें। और इसका ये सेमिनार का मकसद ये है आपको आप सबके लिए एक याद दहानी, लेकिन मुझे ये भी इल्म है, I know many of you are familiar with Waqf-e-Jadid and Tehrik-e-Jadid. Very recently, Huzuri Aqdas gave a khutbah on Waqf-e-Jadid at the beginning of January, and a few months earlier on Tehrik-e-Jadid. So I won't go into the whole history of these two Tehriks. However, as explained by Naib Sadr Sahab, I hope to impress upon you the importance of these two schemes and the impacts it's happening. These schemes are happening around the world as well. I'm going to take my screen off because it'll affect my presentation. So let me turn this off first, and I will share my screen. Lutfur Sahib, if you wouldn't mind just clarifying or just confirming if you can see my screen once it's up.
Yes, this has come through.
It's come through. Okay, brilliant. Okay, fine, fantastic. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This presentation, मैं कोशिश पूरी करूँगा कि उर्दू में भी मैं थोड़ा cover करूँ. ज़्यादातर ये English में होगा. Most of this presentation will be in English. I will try to cover some parts in Urdu as well. Forgive me if it's not fully explained in Urdu. And I have an additional request, जो members सुन रहे हैं, if you could please mute your mics. Sometimes agar mistakenly mic on ho jata hai and I will be able to hear background noise, and it makes it a bit difficult to present. So please make sure your mics are off. Okay, so let's start. So I've titled this presentation, Why is Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid so important to Ahmadis? And I've titled it this way because aapko pata hoga, or you all know, ke Huzur Aqdas and the Khulafa, they give an annual sermon about these two tehriks. Every single year for many, many decades, in do tehrikat ke bare mein zikr ho raha. There's mentions of on this dedicated sermons on these two tehrikat. And you should also know when these two schemes were started by Hazrat Muslim Maud, when he initiated these schemes, Tehrik-e-Jadid in 1934, Waqf-e-Jadid in 1957. Since then, and every Khalifa after that point, they've not only supported these schemes, but made sure that these schemes have grown to their full potential, looking after their progress. And regularly, often hota hai ke Huzur Aqdas sirf un khutbat mein nahi, not only in the year beginning or year-end khutbats of Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid, even during the year, the Khulafa and Huzur Aqdas especially has mentioned, he's drawn reference to Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid. So the question is, why is it so important to Ahmadis? Why is it bar kyun zikr hota hai during the year and in dedicated sermons? So I'll try to explain it from this angle. If we were to describe Jamaat Ahmadiyya as a grand or magnificent tree, ek azim shan darakht, if we describe it from this perspective, at the very center of the roots, we have at the base we have the roots. The roots are the Khilafat, the source of stability, nourishment. The roots are the anchor for the tree firmly to be grounded. It protects us from storms. It protects the tree from any kind of natural disasters. It draws sustenance from deep beneath the surface. Without strong roots, even the tallest tree will eventually fall. Isi tarah, in the same way, Khilafat provides spiritual authority, unity, and divine guidance. It protects the community to its source of strength and ensures that growth is not random but disciplined and purposeful. From these roots rises the trunk, the unified body of the Jamaat. The trunk stands upright because the roots are firm. It represents cohesion, obedience, collective strength. And then, extending from the trunk are strong, purposeful branches. These branches can be compared to Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqfe-Jadid. Tehrik-e-Jadid is like the branch that stretches outward towards distant horizons, carrying the message to new lands and bearing fruit internationally. Waqf-e-Jadid is like the branch that strengthens the inner structure, ensuring that nourishment reaches even the smallest twigs, fortifying faith, education, spiritual training at grassroots level. I'll put this into a little more context ताकि आपको सही तरह समझ आए कि तहरीक-ए-जदीद और वक्फ-ए-जदीद में comparison क्या है, what's the differences, what's the similarities, and how they support each other as well, how they complement each other. So just as a refresher, you should know this already, but Tehrik-e-Jadid is the expansion and the tabligh arm of the Jamaat. So internationally, Murabbiyan Silsila are sent to different parts of the world, specifically to Africa, to Asia, to South America, spreading the word of Jamaat Ahmadiyya, establishing mosques and mission houses around the world, training and sending of missionaries of Murabbiyan Silsila. The publications, the Holy Quran, the literature, all of these publications, the Holy Quran, aapko pata hoga, the Jamaat Ahmadiyya has translated the Holy Quran into over 60 languages. Ye sara kuch Tehrik-e-Jadid ke zariye hua hai, and then distributed to these parts of the world, into Africa, into Asia, and now more so into South America as well. MTA, Muslim Television Ahmadiyya, this huge satellite channel, is funded primarily through Tehrik-e-Jadid as well. अगर आप ये सोचें आपके घर में शायद हो कि आपके पास कोई Sky subscription होगी या Netflix या कोई sports channel या Prime TV, something, you may have some television subscription. आप महीने में 10 pound 20 pound कुछ देते होंगे to subscribe to this channel for the content. MTA, Muslim Television Ahmadiyya, जो आपके घर में आ रहा है, you are getting this for free, basically, this 24-hour channel highlighting all the news of the Jamaat, all the different events. It's full of different programs in different languages. Ye sara kuch aapko mil raha hai. And there's no subscription charge. So all of these things that we take for granted, we are getting through Tehrik-e-Jadid, the spread of and the propagation of Islam Ahmadiyyat. ताकि ये पैगाम जो है, ये message, the message of the Jamaat is spread all over the world, and we are benefiting as well. MTA is a big example. Schools and hospitals are also on the Tehrik-e-Jadid. Because Jamaat Ahmadiyya, we not only look after the spiritual well-being of members, but also the physical well-being. So humanitarian efforts, schools and hospitals comes automatically under all Jamaat schemes and under Tehrik-e-Jadid specifically as well. So this scheme plays a major role in the spreading of Ahmadiyyat globally. Now Waqf-e-Jadid ko compare karte hain. So Waqf-e-Jadid focused on the talim and tarbiyat of Ahmadis in the remote villages of South Asia. South Asia ka matlab hai India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So South Asia and parts of Africa as well, primarily East and West Africa. And specifically the Hati Ilake, in the village areas of these regions. So looking after the talim of the members in these remote villages, and also their tarbiyat, looking after the moral and spiritual well-being of these Ahmadi members. In these villages, ye Dahati Ilake mein, there's muallimeen have been sent, teachers have been trained and sent to live in these remote villages, looking after our members, supporting them in their talim and tarbiyat. And then the spread of Islam in these villages as well. So ye jo dehati ilake ke jiski baat ho rahi hai, not everybody is an Ahmadi. There'll be some section, maybe 50% or 25% Ahmadi honge, lekin baki jo hai, they also need to be invited to Jamaat Ahmadiyya. The remainder of the villages will also be invited, and Tabligh will go to them as well. And then in these remote rural villages, there are schools and medical camps. So in summary, Waqf-e-Jadid strengthens the internal foundation of the Jamaat. So ab is tarah dekh sakte hain, I've given you the example of the tree of Jamaat Ahmadiyya, but specifically agar in dono mein aap compare kare, they support each other. Where
Fahim Sab is going mute somehow. Your Fahim Sab, can you please unmute yourself?
sorry, was it for quite some time?
No, I think just for last 3-4 seconds.
Okay, okay. If it happens again, please let me know.
Yeah, that's fine. And you're not sharing anymore, yes? You will be sharing
I'm
it
just
again.
about to share it.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम रहमतुल्लाह। और जरा दोबारा रिपीट करना जेड़ा एंड ते आपने वक्फ-ए-जदीद और तहरीक-ए-जदीद का कंपटीशन दसिया सी ना, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ जरा प्लीज जरा रिपीट कर दोगे?
जी ठीक है, मैं अभी करता हूँ। ठीक है, so just in summary, ये मैंने कहना था, so I've explained तहरीक-ए-जदीद क्या करता है, वक्फ-ए-जदीद क्या करता है, लेकिन the main important thing is कि आपस में they support each other. जहाँ तहरीक-ए-जदीद एक जहाँ काम खत्म होता है, किसी की तबलीग को ये maybe a whole village has converted, have accepted Ahmadiyyat. Now उनको look after किसने करना है? ठीक है, the work doesn't stop there. It shouldn't be कि इतना काम और मेहनत हुई है, people have joined Jamaat Ahmadiyya, they accepted the Promised Messiah, and if there's nobody to look after them, then they will walk away again. They will say, we heard this beautiful message, but now there's no one to look after us, there's no one to support us. This is where Waqf-e-Jadid comes in. Waqf-e-Jadid looks after their talim and tarbiyat, ताकि ये लोग जो जिन्होंने ये bad दिए, someone is there to support them, to teach them how to read the Quran, read the namaz, how to behave as Muslims. So this is how the two tahriks complement each other. Now आगे जाते हैं. Then we have the question, कई लोग पूछते हैं कि is it compulsory? कई लोग कहते हैं कि it's कुरान में तो नहीं लिखा हुआ, it's not written in the Quran, so why should I participate? But then my answer to this is, Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, in over 60 places, there's so many references in which Allah Ta'ala says, spend in my cause and I will return this back to you. There's Huzur bar ye khutbat mein bhi dohraate hain. Other verses, Allah Ta'ala says, whatever you spend in the way of Allah, it shall be repaid to you in full. This is repeated many times. The Quran is not written in a way कि जिस तरह आपको एक रसीद मिलती है या कोई इनवॉइस मिलती है कि आपने तहरीक-ए-जदीद भी देना है, आपने वसीयत भी देना है, आपने वक्फ-ए-जदीद भी देना है, आपने so all these chandajat, it's not listed this way. Allah Ta'ala says spend in the cause of Allah, and very clearly Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid are in the cause of Allah. So we have Allah Ta'ala telling us about spending in his cause. And then we have guidance from the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Again, repeated many times over. The Holy Prophet said, spend with an open heart, Allah will spend on you. On another occasion, the Holy Prophet said, whoever spends anything in the cause of Allah is rewarded 700 times more. आप सबने ये सुना होगा. This is a very famous hadith. Many of you have heard these hadiths and similar hadiths time and time again. but we should not take it for granted. And then we have the example of Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar. Huzur Aqdas gives their example many times. Pichle khutbah bhi and even in the Tehrik-e-Jadid khutbah, Huzur ne ye example diya, dobara, many times over. Huzur talks about Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar on the occasion when the Holy Prophet asked for funds, and Hazrat Umar came and he gave half of his belongings. Hazrat Abu Bakr came and he gave all of his belongings. But yet, this was not written in the Quran. This was not a sadaqah. This was not a zakat. They gave because the need was there. The Holy Prophet asked for funds for the cause of Allah and the cause of Islam, and the companions gave. This is exactly the same situation of Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid. That these are in the cause of Allah. There is a need and a requirement to spread the message and to look after the people who accept Islam Ahmadiyyat. It's exactly the same. So ye sara kehne ke baad, your heart tells you that you must participate. So when we started with the question or the comment, okay, this is not written in the Holy Quran, why should I take part? My question back to you is, why would you not take part when you have all of these reasons and arguments for the case of making sure you do participate? Regarding Tehrik-e-Jadid, so this is just continuing from the previous slide. Hazrat Muslim Maud, he said that though one is free whether or not to join Tehrik-e-Jadid, but if someone has the means to join it and does not do so because Khalifatul Masih has declared it optional, he will be brought to account either in this world or the next. And then in regard to Waqf-e-Jadid, Hazrat Muslim Maud said, there should not remain a single person in the Jamaat who is financially able and does not participate in this chanda. So these words is what is the basis for the liamal of Majlis Ansarullah when it comes to these two chandajat, these two tehriks, that every Ansar member should participate and they should try their best to ensure their family members also participate in this scheme. We have the words of Hazrat Muslim Maud, and previously we have the reasoning from the Holy Quran and from the reasonings from the Hadith as well. Now we go to what are the achievements of the scheme. Meaning, you are asking me to give, you're asking people to donate to these schemes. Lekin kaam kya hua hai in these schemes? Where does the money go? In the Friday sermon of last year, January 2025, Huzur said that 7,953 mosques have been built. 306 mosques are under construction. 1,860 mission houses. 400 central missionaries, meaning Murabbiyan Silsila, and more than 2,000 local muallimeen, teachers. Huzur said all of these needs are being fulfilled through Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid. Now, Huzur Aqdas, when it comes to Waqf-e-Jadid, Huzur ne ye kaha hai ke jo bhi funds aate hain from the Western countries, meaning Europe, North America, like Canada, USA, the funds from these countries, from these rich countries, will be spent in Africa. So the question now is, why is Africa so special? Wahan kyun ja rahe hain sare paise? Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam, he prophesied the global spread of Islam through the Jamaat. And then he also spoke about Christianity's dominance in Africa declining through the peaceful propagation of Islam. Hazrat Muslim Maud, he said he described Africa as a land that would play a major role in the future revival of Islam. Hazrat Mirza Nasir Ahmad, the third Khalifa, often expressed that African members displayed extraordinary loyalty and devotion to Khilafat. Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, the fourth Khalifa, Rahmullah, he said that the future of Islam's revival would be prominently include Africa. Let me say that again. Huzur said the future of Islam's revival would prominently include Africa. And then Huzur Aqdas, he's repeatedly stated that the moral and spiritual future of Islam is strongly tied to Africa. So Africa plays a huge part in the future of Jamaat Ahmadiyya. This region, so Africa itself, is the region with the highest number of bats. अगर आपको शायद याद हो, when Jalsa Salana UK का दूसरा दिन जो है, on the second day of Jalsa Salana, Huzur gives a report of कितने बातें हुई हैं, कितने लोग, कितने publications हैं, कितने masjid बने. So Huzur gives a very comprehensive report of the progress of Jamaat Ahmadiyya from the previous year. So Huzur mentioned that last year almost 250,000, meaning 250,000 people, accepted Ahmadiyyat. And from that figure, Huzur's mentioned this in previous Jalsa Salanas as well when he gives a report, that the majority of these bats are from African nations, predominantly Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Congo-Brazzaville. These countries are where hundreds of thousands of bats are happening over the last number of years. This is the area which Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid mainly operates in. So all these new Ahmadis are equal to us in the eyes of Allah. Jo wahan hamare bhai bhan jo hain in these African nations, in the eyes of Allah Ta'ala, they're the same as us. But they are not as fortunate as us in the UK. They've accepted the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they've accepted the promised Messiah, they behave like Muslims, but they don't have the luxury that we have. Hum jo UK mein reh rahe hain. We have this luxury of having Huzur Aqdas. We can get direct guidance, our talim and tarbiyat from Huzur. Those of us who are born Ahmadis, right? We have the luxury of having generations of parents and grandparents, foreparents of the traditions of the Jamaat. These new Ahmadis don't have this luxury, those who have accepted it in the last few years. They don't have the luxury to read the Quran or books of the Jamaat at night because they don't have electricity. Some of these people specifically in sub-Saharan Africa, Central Africa, they don't even have the luxury to do wuzu 5 times a day. They don't have the luxury of 3 meals a day or education or medical help. But yet, these are our fellow brothers and sister Ahmadis. They've joined the Jamaat in their hundreds of thousands. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, "None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself." I've particularly raised this hadith because we are giving to Tehrik-e-Jadid, to Waqf-e-Jadid. Just I've shown you what are the purposes of the schemes, what are the achievements of the schemes. I've said hundreds of thousands of people in parts of Africa, in the very poor parts of Africa, join these schemes. But these people are living in very tough conditions, but they've still accepted Ahmadiyyat. But by the grace of Allah Ta'ala, in addition, so Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid, in addition to the establishment of mosques and the provision of Murabbiyan and Muallimin and the Holy Quran, the region Waqf-e-Jadid has supplied schools and hospitals in these regions, solar panels, clean water pumps. So all these facilities that we take for granted, our children can go to the hospital, can go to school whenever they have a need for. School every day, hospital whenever there's a requirement. We can turn on lights at night time. We can turn on the tap, drink some water, brush our teeth, do wuzu. Things we take for granted. हम सोच भी नहीं करते कि how much for granted we take these things. But in these regions, in these countries, it's a luxury. By the grace of Allah, through the donations of members, not only is their talim and tarbiyat looked after, but their welfare as well. Now, I just want to talk about the impact on the people in these regions. Here, there's a picture of might be difficult to see, but there's a picture of a water pump or a water tap within a village. It changes the lives of these people. Previously, if this water tap wasn't there, agar ye pani na ho village ke andar, it will be the job of the women and the children to walk 3 miles in the morning to collect a bucket of dirty water, then walk 3 miles back. And that's just for the morning. Phir sham ko dobara, so they can wash and clean. By the grace of Allah, through these schemes, these facilities have been set up. Water, solar panels. And then there's a change in the people as well. Pehle jo the, aap shayad dekhte ho in TV when we see some clips from parts of Africa, especially in the drought areas, in the very poor regions. Wahan ke log jo hai, some of them walk around naked or semi-naked. That because it's just their culture to do it that way in some of these regions. It's so poor and also so very hot that this is how they have lived for centuries. Through Islam Ahmadiyat, the level of dignity has come to them. The women folk here, those who accept Ahmadiyat, they start doing parda. The men and women start behaving like Muslims. There's the natural essence of Islam comes through these people. And then we have those people who not only have they've changed for the better, their talim and tarbiyat has increased, especially their tarbiyat, but their devotion to Jamaat is exemplary. Here we have a picture of a lady who's donating a chicken to Waqf-e-Jadid. हुजूर अक्सर उनके खुतबात में कहते हैं, हुजूर gives an example के लोगों ने मुर्गियां दी हैं या they've donated eggs as well and other things that they have, bags of rice or grain, because उनके पास कोई cash नहीं होते, they don't have cash, but they have livestock and they have these things for them. So this lady, she gave a live chicken, and Huzoor gives this example in almost every khutbah. But to us living in the UK, what does it mean? It means when I did some research, a live chicken in the UK costs approximately 20 to 25 pounds if you want to have a live chicken. 20 to 25 pounds is the amount that some members donate towards Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid for the whole year. Was 20 pound denge ya 30 pound denge as their whole yearly donation. This lady gave this live chicken, which is equivalent in value, okay, to 20 to 25 pounds. So the question arises that whose sacrifice is greater? This lady who's giving this live chicken, or someone in the UK who's giving 20 pounds towards Waqf-e-Jadid? The answer should be that this lady is making a much greater sacrifice, because this chicken is her source of income. meaning she looks after this chicken, she makes sure it's fed, she makes sure it's healthy, because it produces eggs, and these eggs she sells, and she has an income from these eggs. You can compare this to someone in the UK who works for Uber, who has a car, he looks after his car, he makes sure it's clean, he makes sure it's working, because that car is his source of income. If he didn't have this car, if he didn't have this income, then he won't be able to provide for his family. So we are making a comparison where this lady has given away a source of income. Who in the UK is prepared to give away their source of income? This is why Huzur Aqdas gives the example of such people again and again and again, because their level of sacrifice is huge compared to what they have. And then I'll move on to a greater level of tarbiyat. So these gentlemen, some of you know already, were the martyrs in Burkina Faso. This happened in 2023 in the villages of Burkina Faso. And I won't go into too much details, but they are the fruits of Waqfe-Jadid and Tehrik-e-Jadid. They live in the regions where Waqfe-Jadid and Tehrik-e-Jadid supports. These members, these dear brothers of ours, who gave the ultimate sacrifice, they were so devoted to the Jamaat that they gave the ultimate sacrifice. This is the strength of their tarbiyat. These are the fruits. When I referred to the tree earlier, these are the fruits that tree has borne. This is what Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid has produced. This is the level of strength that these people have in these countries. So these people are equal to us in the eyes of Allah Ta'ala, but look at the level of sacrifices they make. I have a few more slides and this is where I'll finish, but I want to highlight the honor that we have in the UK and the responsibility. Hum jo UK mein reh rahe hain, there'll be many of us who are living here for many years, for many decades. Some may have come in the last few years, but the UK Jamaat has the honor of being the home of Khilafat for over 4 decades. Okay? So in 1984, when Khalifa Rabi came over, this is when Khilafat resided in the UK, and since then we have this huge honor. But with this honor comes a huge responsibility. Everybody looks to the UK as the role models. Okay? When other Ahmadis look from other parts of the world and they look at the UK Jamaat, they expect कि वो जो लोग जो हुजूर के साथ रहते हैं, who live at Huzur's feet, they must be the best of the Ahmadi Muslims because they have Huzur Aqdas. So this is the level that we need to be at. So this is a huge responsibility. I'm highlighting this for a reason. So I'll come back to it. So we have this responsibility that, and also Huzur Aqdas must have an expectation कि ये जो लोग मेरे साथ जो रह रहे हैं in the UK, they must be the first people who are listening to my khutbahs and sermons, and they'll be the first people to respond. I'll come back to this point. I also want to make another point. कि हमारे members में से हो, there'll be people even listening who are the progeny, who are the descendants of the companions of the promised Messiah, alayhi salam. And many of the promised Messiah's companions were poor, very poor. And when Huzur asked for funds, they would give what they could, but they gave. There would be people who would sell sticks and wood just to get an income, just so they could donate, so they could obey Huzur's request to when he asked for funds. They used to sell any. There's even instances where members used to write to Huzur Aqdas, to Huzur, to the Prophet Messiah, and say, if I could sell even my children, I would do so. Such was the level of devotion that these members had. And the progeny and the descendants of these companions are now, by the grace of Allah, generally doing very well, living a very comfortable life in different parts of the world. So the point I'm making here is these people have a huge responsibility because, one, we live in the country where Khilafat is in residence. We have been listening to Huzur Aqdas for many decades, for many years. Some of us are the descendants of those poor companions. It is upon us now that we should be the first and foremost. So when it comes to financial sacrifice, when it comes to when Huzur talks about Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid and encouraging and inspiring members to participate and to donate and to give finance and to sacrifice financially, it should be us who should be doing this because of this honor and responsibility that we have. There's a verse in the Holy Quran in chapter 2, Fastabikul Khairat, vie with one another in good works. This is my last slide, and afterwards I can answer questions, but this is where I want to end. Huzur Aqdas, when he gives his sermons for Waqf-e-Jadid and Tehrik-e-Jadid, Huzur, at the end of the khutbah, he gives a list of which countries have come first in their donations to the scheme, and which came second, and which came third. Huzur does this, and the Khulafa have been doing this for this reason, to vie with one another in good works, so that all these countries are competing in the sight of Allah to be the first and foremost when it comes to Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid. And aapko pata hoga, in Tehrik-e-Jadid, very recently, when Huzur gave the khutbah in November, Huzur said that UK Jamaat came very close to Germany. Germany was number one. Huzur ne ye kaha tha कि अगर इसी तरह वो चलते रहें, if the UK carry on this way, it could be that next year they will overtake Germany. Germany, which is a much bigger Jamaat than the UK. And then when it came to Waqf-e-Jadid, by the grace of Allah, UK Jamaat have been coming first for many years. But then Huzur said that Canada Jamaat have also been doing very well, and they've almost reached the UK. So now all of these countries, Germany, Canada, USA, all these other countries, they all want to be number one. Why wouldn't they? It's a huge honor. So the intention here is that, of course, the UK Jamaat want to be first in every Tehrik and every scheme that is raised by Khalifatul Masih. For Tehrik-e-Jadid, Hazrat Mirza Nasir Ahmad Rahmullah, he said on an occasion, he said 20%, or I think on another occasion 50% of 1 month's income to be paid over the year is a very good level of sacrifice for Tehrik-e-Jadid. And for Waqf-e-Jadid, the fourth Khalifa, he said that there is no limit. Aap jitna marzi dein, you can give as much as you want. The request here is, and I say this in light of what I've just said, that we want to be the number one Jamaat when it comes to comparing countries. We of course want to be number one for the reasons I've said already. We have the honor of hosting Khilafat. It should be that the UK is number one. So I humbly request members, I request my Ansar brothers who are heads of families, that if you are giving an amount that is less than £100 for the year, it's not enough. I'm saying it very clearly to you. It's not enough. We are expected to make financial sacrifices. Those members who are making financial sacrifices, in the sight of Allah, Allah rewards you accordingly. And many of you have been the beneficiaries, have been the recipients, have received Allah's blessing. And this is why we all do it. We do it to win Allah Ta'ala's love. So I will end my presentation here. Naib Sahab, if there's any questions or any clarifications, agar maine sahi tarah explain nahi kiya, please, I ask your forgiveness, but please ask and I will try to explain again. But I hope that through this presentation, it's given you a wider perspective of the grand scheme of Tehrik-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid. These are the schemes which are obviously Allah Ta'ala's grace and mercy. These are the schemes that are carrying the Jamaat forward. Through these schemes, hundreds of thousands of bats are happening. The Jamaat is growing immensely in different parts of the world. And those people who are accepting Ahmadiyat, they are also being looked after as well. So I again encourage you to participate, understand financial sacrifice so that you may benefit from it and other people can benefit from your donations. Jazakumullah.